I wasn't supposed to be home. They thought I was at the VA hospital for my checkup. The appointment had been rescheduled, something about the doctor being called away for an emergency, but I hadn't bothered to text anyone about it. Why would I? My kids never asked about my appointments anyway. They were too busy with their own lives, their own problems, their own plans. I pulled into the driveway at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon. Marcus's BMW was parked in front of the garage, blocking my usual spot. Jennifer's Lexus was on the street. That was odd. Both of them here? Middle of a workday? My son worked in finance, always bragging about his critical meetings. My daughter taught at a private school, supposedly too important to miss class. I used the side entrance, the one through the mudroom that Helen and I had added 30 years ago when the kids were small and constantly tracking in dirt. The door didn't creak anymore. I'd oiled those hinges just last month so they didn't hear me come in. That's when I heard Marcus's voice coming from the living room. I'm just saying, Dad's 67. How much longer is he realistically going to live in this house by himself? I froze, my hand still on the doorknob. Jennifer's voice. Mark, that's a horrible thing to say. I'm being practical, Jen. He's got the knee problems, the high blood pressure. What happens when he falls down those stairs? What happens when he forgets to turn off the stove? He's not senile. He's perfectly capable. Is he? He's living in a 4-bedroom house that's worth, what did that real estate agent say? $740,000? Maybe more if we stage it right. Meanwhile, you and David are crammed in that 2-bedroom condo, and Sarah and I are paying private school tuition for 2 kids we can barely afford. I should have walked in right then. I should have announced myself, asked them what the hell they were doing in my house in the middle of the day, discussing my life like I was already in the ground. But I didn't move. I just stood there, listening. So what are you suggesting? Jennifer's voice had changed. She wasn't defending me anymore. I'm suggesting we have a conversation with him about moving somewhere more appropriate. Assisted living, maybe. Or one of those active senior communities. Sell this place. Invest the money properly. Set up a trust for his care. Whatever's left over could help all of us. Marcus. That's his house. His and Mom's. They built it together. Mom's been gone 3 years. 3 years, Jen. And he's rattling around in here like a ghost. You think that's healthy? You think Mom would want him living in the past? The manipulative bastard. Bringing Helen into this. I don't know. Look, I've already talked to a lawyer. We could get power of attorney if we needed to. For his own good. We're his next of kin. If his health deteriorates, and it will, we have the legal right to make decisions for him. You talk to a lawyer? Without discussing this with me first? I'm discussing it with you now. And I've got numbers. Real numbers. If we sell this house and put him somewhere decent, not a dump, somewhere nice with activities and medical staff, we're looking at maybe $400K clear after everything's said and done. Split 2 ways. That's $200K each. Think about what that could do for your family. For mine, silence. Long enough that I wondered if they'd somehow sensed my presence. If they knew I was standing 15 feet away in the mudroom with my jacket still on and my heart pounding in my chest. Then Jennifer. When would we? How would we even bring this up? I didn't stay to hear the rest. I backed out slowly, carefully, and walked to my truck. I sat there in the driveway for 20 minutes, watching their cars, waiting. When they finally left Jennifer first, then Marcus 10 minutes later, I waited another 30 minutes before I went back inside. The house felt different, contaminated somehow, like they'd left something toxic in the air. I walked through the living room where they'd been sitting. Jennifer had used one of Helen's good linen napkins as a coaster. It had left a water ring on the coffee table I'd built from oak planks when we first moved in. Marcus had left a folder on the side table. I picked it up. Inside were printouts. Real estate comparables for houses in my neighborhood. Brochures for premier senior living communities in Arizona and Florida. A business card for an estate planning attorney named Douglas Mitchum. And a handwritten note in Marcus's precise block letters. Talk to Dad after Thanksgiving. Approach gently. Emphasize safety. Health angle. Do not mention money. I sat down in my chair. Helen's chair was still across from me. Empty like always. And I read through every page. They'd done their homework. They had it all planned out. The conversation they'd have with me, the concerns they'd raise, the solutions they'd suggest. And if I resisted, there was a highlighted section in one of the printouts about diminished capacity and adult protective services. My own children, planning to take my house, planning to take my independence, planning to warehouse me somewhere while they split up the money Helen and I had spent 40 years building. I didn't cry. I'd cried myself dry after Helen died, and there wasn't much left in me for tears. But I sat there until the sun went down, and I made a decision. If they wanted to plan my future, they'd have to live with the consequences. The next morning, I called my own lawyer. Not some estate planning vulture like Douglas Mitchum, but Tom Brennan, who'd handled the closing when Helen and I bought this house in 1987. He was semi-retired now, mostly playing golf, but he still kept his license active for old clients. "Robert," he said, when I reached him, "haven't heard from you since Helen's funeral. How are you holding up?" "I need to make some changes to my will, Tom, and I need to do it quietly." There was a pause. "Everything okay?" "Everything's about to be." We met at a coffee shop in the next town over, far enough that I wouldn't run into anyone who knew Marcus or Jennifer. I told him everything, the conversation I'd overheard, the folder, the plans. Tom listened, his coffee getting cold, his expression getting darker. "Those sons of bitches," he said finally. "Helen would tell me to stand up for myself. So that's what I'm doing." Tom pulled out a legal pad. "Tell me what you want." What I wanted was simple. Control. They wanted to take my choices away? I'd make damn sure they regretted it. "The house goes to charity when I die," I said. "Habitat for Humanity. Helen volunteered with them for years. They can have the whole thing. House, property, everything." Tom wrote that down. "What about your other assets? The savings? The investment accounts?" "I want to set up a scholarship fund. Full-ride engineering scholarships at the state university. 2 students every year. I'll fund it with the bulk of my savings, keep enough back for my own care, but the rest goes into the fund. The kids get nothing?" I thought about that. About Marcus with his BMW and his private school tuition he could barely afford. About Jennifer and her cramped 2-bedroom condo that probably cost more than what Helen and I paid for this entire house. They each get $5,000. Enough that they can't claim I forgot them. Not enough to matter. Tom smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "And you want this done when?" "Yesterday. I can have the papers ready by Friday. Make it Thursday." We shook hands. I paid for the coffee. On the way out, Tom stopped me. "Robert, you know they're going to fight this. When the time comes, they'll contest the will, claim you weren't of sound mind. Let them try. I'm getting a full physical next week. Full cognitive assessment. I'll have medical proof that I'm as sharp as I've ever been. And Tom, I want video of the signing. Multiple witnesses. Make it ironclad. You've thought this through. I've had nothing but time to think for 3 years. The signing happened on Thursday, just like Tom promised. He brought 2 paralegals as witnesses, and we did it all on video, me reading the will out loud, confirming each provision, demonstrating that I understood exactly what I was doing and why. The whole thing took 40 minutes. When it was done, Tom handed me a sealed envelope. "Your copies. Keep them somewhere safe. I've got a safe deposit box at the bank. They don't know about it." "Good. And Robert, for what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. What Helen would have wanted." I shook his hand and left. The envelope sat on my passenger seat all the way home, and I kept glancing at it at red lights. It felt heavier than it should have, like it was made of something denser than paper and ink. That night, Marcus called. "Hey, Dad, just checking in. How was your week?" Like he cared. Like he hadn't been in my house 5 days ago, planning my involuntary relocation. "Fine," I said. Quiet. "You doing okay? Eating enough? We worry about you. You know. We. Not I. We. I'm managing. Listen, Dad. I was thinking maybe we could have dinner soon. All of us. You, me, Sarah, Jen, David. Maybe this weekend? We could come to you, or we could go out somewhere nice. This weekend's not good for me." "Oh," Okay. Well, what about next week? After Thanksgiving, maybe? After Thanksgiving. Just like the note said. Talk to Dad after Thanksgiving. I'll let you know. I said, Dad is everything. I need to go, Marcus. There's something on the stove. I hung up before he could respond. There was nothing on the stove. I hadn't cooked a real meal in weeks. Mostly I ate sandwiches, or leftovers from the diner down the street, or the casseroles that Helen's old bridge club ladies still dropped off sometimes, even though I kept telling them they didn't need to. Thanksgiving came. Jennifer invited me to her place, but I declined, said I wasn't feeling up to it. She sounded relieved. I spent the day alone, eating a turkey sandwich and watching football. Helen used to make this whole production of Thanksgiving china plates, cloth napkins, a turkey so big it barely fit in the oven. The kids would come, and the house would smell like sage and brown butter. And for one day a year, we'd feel like a normal family. Now the kids came when they wanted something, and the house smelled like dust and old coffee. My phone rang at 7 p.m. Marcus. Hey, Dad. Sarah and I were talking, and we'd really like you to come over this weekend. Saturday afternoon. Just for a few hours. We haven't seen you in weeks, and the kids are asking about Grandpa. The kids. My grandchildren. Emma was 9, and Tyler was 7. I saw them maybe 3 times a year, usually at forced family events where Marcus would parade them out to hug me and then shuffle them away before they could get too attached to the old man. What's this about, Marcus? What do you mean? Can't I invite my father over for a visit? You can, but you don't. So what's this really about? A pause. Then, Dad, we're concerned about you. That's all. We want to talk about some things. About the future. There it was. The future. Your future. Your health. Your living situation. We just want what's best for you. And you've decided what's best for me? Dad, I'll come on Saturday. 2 p.m. But Marcus, I'm not senile. I'm not incompetent. And I'm not selling my house. I hung up before he could respond. Saturday arrived cold and gray. The kind of December day that makes you grateful for central heating. I dressed carefully the good slacks Helen had bought me for our 40th anniversary. A button-down shirt. The navy cardigan she'd given me for my last birthday before the cancer took her. I wanted to look presentable. Capable. Not like someone who needed to be managed. Marcus's house was in one of those new developments where all the houses looked the same, big and expensive and soulless. I parked on the street and sat in my truck for a minute, gathering myself. Sarah answered the door. She'd always been polite to me, if distant. Robert, come in. Can I take your coat? The house smelled like vanilla candles and fresh paint. Everything was beige and white and carefully arranged, like a showroom. The kids were nowhere in sight. Where are Emma and Tyler? At a friend's house. We thought it would be better to have this conversation without distractions. So they'd lied about the kids wanting to see me. Of course they had. Marcus appeared from the kitchen. Jennifer behind him. So it was an ambush. All 3 of them. Planned and coordinated. Dad. Good to see you. Marcus shook my hand. His grip was firm, businessman confident. Let's sit in the living room. They'd set it up like an intervention. Marcus and Sarah on the couch, Jennifer in the armchair to my right. The only seat left for me was a chair positioned so I'd be facing all 3 of them. I sat down anyway. So, I said, let's hear it. Marcus and Jennifer exchanged a look. Then Marcus cleared his throat. Dad, we want to talk to you about your living situation. My house, you mean? The house, yes. It's a big house, Dad. 4 bedrooms, 2 floors, all those stairs. We're worried about your safety. My safety. You're not getting any younger. I'm 67, not 97. And that house requires a lot of maintenance, a lot of work. We think it might be time to consider other options. Places where you'd have support, activities, medical care on site if you need it. I looked at Jennifer. And you agree with this? She had the decency to look uncomfortable. Dad, we're just trying to look out for you. By taking my house. That's not what this is about, Marcus said quickly. Too quickly. This is about your well-being. Your quality of life. And the $740,000 the house is worth has nothing to do with it? The room went silent. Sarah looked at Marcus. Jennifer looked at her hands. I don't know what you're talking about, Marcus said, but his voice had changed. Harder now. Defensive. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a photocopy of the real estate comps, the ones from the folder he'd left in my living room. I set them on the coffee table between us. You left these at my house 3 weeks ago. Tuesday afternoon, while I was supposed to be at the VA hospital. Marcus's face went pale, then red. You were spying on us? In my own house? No, son. I came home early, and I heard you planning my future, talking about power of attorney, about dividing up the money, about putting me somewhere you could forget about me. Dad, that's not. I heard every word. I read every page. I even found the note about how to approach me gently and not mention the money. So don't sit there and tell me this is about my well-being. This is about you wanting what I've worked my entire life to build. Jennifer spoke up, her voice small. Dad, we were just exploring options. You were planning to take my home. The home your mother and I built together. The home where I raised you. Where I still live with her memory in every room. And you were going to take it, sell it, and split the money like I was already dead. That's not fair, Marcus said, standing up. We have families to think about. Expenses. The kids' education. I put you both through college, I said, my voice rising now. Your mother and I worked overtime, took out loans, sacrificed vacations and new cars so you wouldn't graduate with debt. And this is how you repay that? By plotting to put me in storage? You're being dramatic, Marcus said. Those places are nice. They have activities, communities. Then you move there. I'm staying in my house. For how long? Until you fall and can't get up? Until you have a stroke and lie there for days before someone finds you? That's my choice to make, not yours. You're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking perfectly clearly. Clear enough to have my will updated. Clear enough to make sure that when I die, this house you want so badly goes to Habitat for Humanity. Clear enough to put the majority of my savings into a scholarship fund. Clear enough to make sure you get exactly what you deserve, which is $5,000 each, and the knowledge that your greed cost you everything. The silence that followed was absolute. I could hear the clock ticking in the hallway, the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. You, what? Jennifer's voice was barely a whisper. I changed my will, the house, the savings, all of it. It's going to people who actually need it. To causes your mother cared about. You want to treat me like I'm already dead? Marcus's face had gone from red to purple. You can't do that. I already did. It's done, signed, witnessed, recorded. My lawyer assures me it's completely legal and uncontestable. I had a full medical evaluation to prove my competence. There's even video of the signing. This is insane, Marcus said. You're punishing us for caring about you. For caring about my money, you mean? Don't pretend this was ever about me. I stood up. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. I came here today because you asked me to. I listened to what you had to say. Now, I'm going home. To my house. Where I'm going to live until I decide otherwise. And when I die, which hopefully won't be for another 20 years, just to spite you, you'll get a check for $5,000 and the satisfaction of knowing that the house you wanted so badly will go to building homes for families who actually appreciate them. I walked toward the door. Jennifer started to follow me. Dad, please, can we just... No, I said without turning around. We can't. I drove home in silence. No radio, no podcasts, just the sound of the tires on the road and my own breathing. When I pulled into the driveway, my house, I sat there for a long time before going inside. The house was quiet. It was always quiet now. But it was mine. And it would stay mine until I decided otherwise. That night, I pulled out the old photo albums. Helen and me on our wedding day. Helen pregnant with Marcus. Jennifer's first day of school. Family vacations to the lake. Christmas mornings. Birthdays. Graduations. All of it here, preserved in these pages. I found the photo I was looking for on page 43 of the second album. Helen and me, in the backyard of this house. The day we moved in. We were young. I was 27. She was 25, and everything was ahead of us. The house was a fixer-upper, and we couldn't afford furniture for half the rooms. But we were smiling like we'd won the lottery. We did good, didn't we? I said to the photograph. To Helen, we built something worth keeping. My phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. Dad, I'm so sorry. Please, can we talk? I deleted it without responding. Another text. This time from Marcus. You're making a huge mistake. We can still fix this, if you're reasonable. I blocked his number. The weeks that followed were quiet. Jennifer tried calling a few times, but I didn't answer. Marcus sent an email with the subject line, "We need to talk," but I deleted it unread. Sarah sent a Christmas card with a note inside. "We hope you'll reconsider. The children miss their grandfather." I threw it away. Christmas came and went. I spent it alone, by choice. The Bridge Club ladies invited me to their potluck, but I declined. Tom Brennan called to check in, and we talked for an hour about fishing and his grandson's college plans. In January, I started volunteering at Habitat, just 1 day a week at first. Then 2. I wasn't much good at the physical work anymore. My knees couldn't handle ladders, and my back wasn't what it used to be, but I could hand out tools, organize supplies, talk to the families who'd be moving into these homes. There was a single mother named Maria, whose house we were building. She had 3 kids, worked 2 jobs, and cried when they handed her the keys at the dedication ceremony. "I never thought I'd own a home," she said. "I never thought my kids would have their own rooms." That's when I knew I'd made the right choice. In February, I got a letter from an attorney I didn't know. Marcus and Jennifer had hired him to contest certain recent changes to your estate planning documents. They were claiming I'd been coerced, that I wasn't of sound mind, that Tom Brennan had manipulated me. Tom filed a response that included my medical records, the cognitive assessment, the video of the signing, and sworn statements from 3 doctors confirming my mental competence. The attorney withdrew 2 weeks later. March brought the first scholarship recipients. 2 kids from low-income families, both studying engineering at the state university. I met them at the award ceremony. Ashley, who wanted to design sustainable buildings, and Carlos, who dreamed of working for NASA. They thanked me with tears in their eyes. I thought about Marcus and Jennifer, about what they'd wanted to do with this money, private school tuition and vacation homes. And I thought about Ashley and Carlos, about the futures they were building. Helen would have approved. By April, I developed a routine. Habitat on Tuesdays and Thursdays, coffee with Tom on Wednesdays, the Bridge Club potluck once a month, which I'd finally started attending. I even joined a woodworking class at the community center, where I met a widow named Patricia who made me laugh and didn't ask about my children. The house felt less empty, not because anyone else was in it, but because I was actually living in it instead of just existing there. One Saturday in May, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, and for a moment I considered not answering, but I looked through the window and saw Jennifer standing there alone. No Marcus, no ambush. I opened the door. "Hi, Dad." "Jennifer, can I come in? Just for a minute?" I hesitated, then stepped aside. She walked into the living room like she was entering a stranger's house, careful and uncertain. "The place looks good," she said. "I've been keeping it up." We stood there awkwardly, the silence stretching between us. "I wanted to apologize," she said finally, "for everything, for going along with Marcus's plan, for not standing up for you, for forgetting that this is your life, not ours to manage." I didn't say anything. "I know you changed your will. I know we're not getting the house or the money, and I know we don't deserve to. What we did, what we planned to do, it was wrong. It was cruel. And I'm sorry." "Did Marcus send you?" "No. He doesn't even know I'm here. He's still angry, still talking about lawyers and competency hearings. But I'm done with that. I don't want your money, Dad. I never wanted it. I want my father back." I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something I hadn't seen in years. Genuine regret. Actual shame. "What changed?" I asked. "I saw you," she said. At the Habitat dedication in January. I drove by and saw you there, handing out tools, talking to that family. You looked happy, Dad. Happier than I've seen you since Mom died. And I realized that everything Marcus said about you being lonely and lost in this house, it was all projection. We were the ones who were lost. You were just moving forward, and we weren't paying attention. She wiped her eyes. I'm not asking you to change anything. The will, the house, any of it. You should do whatever makes you happy. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. And that if you ever want to see your grandkids again, or grab coffee, or just, I don't know, exist in the same space without all this anger, I'd like that. I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the anger, the months of silence. I thought about Helen, about what she would want. Coffee, I said. Next Saturday. Just you and me. Jennifer smiled, and for a second, she looked like the little girl who used to help Helen in the garden, her hands covered in dirt, and her face lit up with joy. I'd like that. She left, and I closed the door behind her. The house settled back into its usual quiet, but it felt different now. Lighter, maybe. I walked to Helen's chair and sat down, something I hadn't done since she died. It felt wrong at first, like I was intruding on sacred space. But then I remembered what Tom had said. Helen would want me to stand up for myself. She'd also want me to forgive when forgiveness was earned. One step at a time, I said to the empty room. To Helen, to myself. Outside, spring was turning into summer. The garden needed weeding, and the fence needed painting. And there were 100 small tasks that made a house a home. My house, my home, and I had all the time in the world to take care of it.